Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little different. Here on the homestead we are raising a lot of our own meat. We're raising our Cornish cross chickens, American breast chickens, heritage breed turkeys, lamb, and we're getting ready to process a pig. But one thing we don't have is beef. So Kevin's going to tell you a little bit. We have another video coming. We always like to do local when we can, and we did attempt to do that.
Yeah, we did try to go get some beef from a local butcher because that's what we were hoping to be able to do, is support the local folks. I don't want to get too much into detail about it because I don't want to talk bad about anybody or anything. It was just kind of a miscommunication, but essentially we had tried to go through and purchase a quarter beef, and it was going to end up costing significantly more than we can afford right now. We're on quite a bit of a budget, so we're trying to go through and I guess pinch every penny we can. So that leads us to this.
So this video is all on how to get the most beef on a budget and the best quality beef that you can afford on a budget. So for us, that meant a trip down to Little Rock to Costco.
So right here we got about 110 pounds of meat, and the total on this is right about $592 for the beef.
So do you want
me to explain what we got?
Yeah, so Kim's going to explain what we got.
So what we ended up getting here is, these are 10-pound chubs of 90-10 ground beef from Costco. They don't typically have these things out on the shelf, so we ended up having to go back and ask the butcher for them specifically. This is what they brought out. These are all basically exactly 10 pounds. Worth of beef. We got 30 pounds of burger. This is a little bit of a splurge for us. We ended up going through and getting, these are New York steaks, right around 12 pounds. This came in, by going through and cutting it up ourselves, we saved about $1 a pound on these by asking for the butcher to go back and get them from the back. And then what you see here, these are chuck rolls. We ended up asking the butcher for the chuck rolls. They brought out a case. This is what came in a case. This is what? 67.7 pounds of meat. Mm-hmm. And this is all boneless.
Everything here is boneless. So that's the thing. These, though, we are going to have to process them, and we're going to show you how we do that in this video. So we save significantly on $1 a pound on the steaks, a little bit a pound by getting the chubs of meat this way, and about $1 a pound, I think it was, getting
there's a couple different cuts of meat that we're getting out of the chuck rolls. Just so you know, pricing, the ground beef ended up coming in at $4.49 a pound by buying it in the chub. It's a little bit cheaper than having the prepackaged stuff on the shelves. The New York steaks were $10.99 on their shelves, already sliced up. By getting it in the bulk pack here that we're going to cut up, this was $9.99. And we can go through and get the whatever thickness steaks we want when we go through and cut it up. And then the chuck roll, this is a whole nother deal. This is new to us. This is going to be a learning curve as well. But we should be able to go through and get some roasts out of this. And I think, chuck eye steaks out of them. We'll probably end up with a little bit of some of the trimmings and stuff getting turned into ground. But these were $4.99 was the current pricing to go buy this in the case for the chuck roll. And what you're looking at here, Teresa had mentioned this was 110 pounds of meat, and the total cost on this ended up coming in to $5.39 per pound is what all of this cost. But we are going to have to do a little bit of legwork ourselves, a little bit of processing and packaging.
So for us, we're going to show you how we get New York steaks, chuck steaks. So there's another section of steaks we can get off of this as well. Our 90-10 ground, our stew meat, our roast, and all that coming in at $5.39 a pound. Mm-hmm. So we didn't feel like that was too bad price per pound. So
yeah, and actually what we were going to get, that'll be a different video. We want to be a little bit careful on what we say because we respect the butcher that we had gone to. We don't want to badmouth anybody. It was kind of just a misunderstanding, but the price was significantly more expensive than what we got here today. So we just wanted to go and share with you what we were able to get at Costco to save a couple dollars.
So I did want to mention, hang with us for the next video after this. We will go ahead. We did film what we got for the butcher, and we will film and document that story as well, and maybe some ways to avoid what happened to us.
Because it was a learning curve for us. We hadn't actually really gone through and purchased meat from the butcher before, so this kind of cleared up a little bit of confusion. So if we can help you all out there as well.
Well, we have purchased meat from the butcher, but not like a quarter or
not
half
buying
a
like
cow.
a half a cow or a quarter cow or a whole
so
cow.
It'll be our documentation of why that didn't work for us. And if it works for you, great. I am so happy it does. But go ahead and follow us along. We'll show you how we're going to go ahead and package all this. And hang on.
So we're going to start out working with the ground beef. The ground beef from Costco, in this type of packaging, it comes in a 10-pound chub. A little bit cheaper this way. We're going to go through and divide these up into 1-pound packages. 1 pound seems to work out perfect for our family. When you get these 10-pound chubs, they come as 90% lean, 10% fat. A lot of the hamburger that you get at your grocery store, you'll see a bunch of 80-20, 73-27, all in that range. And prices can vary from around $4, and we've seen up to around $6.50 a pound. So around this $5 a pound mark is pretty typical for ground beef prices in our area. So one of the things that we picked up, and like I said earlier, this is a little bit of a splurge. We don't normally get steaks, but we ended up buying this. It's a beef loin, top loin, New York, in a vacuum packed bag. So I'm going to go through, cut this open. We're going to cut ourselves some probably about 1.5 inch thick steak, somewhere in that ballpark, 1.25 inch, maybe 2 fingers width. See how it goes. So this is our first time buying steaks in bulk and then cutting up our own individual steaks ourselves. So we just got the steaks cut up. We're going to go through and have 3 of them for dinner tonight, and the rest of these will get put up in the freezer for next time. So today we're going to go through and work on breaking down this chuck roll that we picked up at Costco. We've never done this before, so this is our first time going through and trying to tackle one of these. And so this is going to be a bit of a learning process for all of us. So we're going to go through and see what we can do with it. So just going through, and I'm just trying to trim up some of the, I guess, unsightly bits off of it and see what we have to work with here. All of the pieces that you can see me trimming off here, this type of stuff got removed, and then we ended up setting it aside and feeding it to the chickens, so we didn't end up having any waste from all the meat that we bought.
It's going to come right along this way.
Right, see, that's what, if you, so this is the chuck eye that we're trying to separate, and then you'll get your Denvers out of the bottom here. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this off here, separating the... Okay, so now this is going to be the chuck eye. And then after separating the chuck eye from the underblade, I'm going to go through and start cutting off sections that will reveal the Denver steaks. The Denver steaks are the piece of meat that's closest to me. The top part that I initially just cut through will end up getting, some of that will end up getting turned into stew meat and some other various cuts. And here's a close-up of what those Denver steaks look like. So we had never actually tried Denver steaks before. We'd never have seen them in the stores. But after going through and cutting these up and cooking them up, they're very, very good. Highly recommend trying it. So now the rest of the underblade, it's a pretty sizable chunk of meat. We're going to go through and actually just cut them up into some large chuck roasts. So here's an example of what chuck roasts look like at Walmart in our area. Price per pound, you're looking at around $8.17 per pound for the chuck roasts. And since we had 2 chuck rolls in the case, here's just a little quick clip of us going through and processing the second one. There we are, pulling off the Denvers and then cutting up some additional chuck roasts for the freezer. This should actually be, oh my gosh, there's a ton still. So now we should hopefully be able to get some chuck eye steaks, right?
Yeah, so.
And that's this end here, right?
Yes.
So do I need... And here's what chuck eyes look like at our local Walmart. It's about $12.98 a pound to get chuck eye steaks. And something like this, good, right?
Yeah.
So then how thick do we want these?
About that inch. That way we can get 3 of them.
Is this knife still very sharp?
I haven't used it yet.
Okay.
So it should be.
So about an inch.
Yeah.
About in here.
Yeah.
We'll try it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And no, that knife was not sharp anymore. Not as sharp as these.
No, these are nice.
So working on the chuck eye roll, you're only going to get about probably 3 or 4 chuck eye steaks out of it before you start getting out of that cut and into a different part of the meat. So here I am cutting off the last little slice there, and then the rest of the upper portion, those are going to start getting into some more chuck roasts. Then you want another one about that size?
Yeah.
So about in here?
Yeah.
Right?
Right there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look at those two.
You want one more of those,
Sure.
you think?
There's only
About
3
there?
of us, yeah.
That can get trimmed out of it if we wanted to.
3 of those.
And then,
grind, or is there any that would make stew meat?
I don't know. I can go through, we can see if we can, I think this is going to be more grind.
Okay,
probably.
go ahead and put it in the grind bucket, but cut it in cubes, or I can cut it in cubes.
Okay. So we ended up getting some chuck eye steaks and then some roasts. So I'm down at the other end of this, trying to go through and just take some of the lean meat here, and we're going to cut some of it up into stew meat, essentially. And then the rest of it'll, scraps and pieces will end up going into into grind. And so this is what all of the trim that we ended up with to go get turned into ground chuck. And all of this ground chuck will be a higher fat content than what the other chubs of meat that we got from Costco. This should result in about closer to that 80-20, which will be perfect for doing hamburgers on the grill. That way you can still have a juicy burger. Definitely a big difference between this grinder and Daryl's grinder. This little grinder that we're using is the deluxe model from Cabela's. It's relatively affordable, and we've put quite a few deer through it and done quite a bit of meat grinding, and so far it's worked pretty well. The only thing is it doesn't work really fast. I had just joked around about our neighbor's grinder that he has. He has I think it's a 1 3/4 horsepower grinder, and it's just a monster. Nothing will slow it down. If you take your time, this little grinder can work good as well.
Hi guys, so we wanted to show you the final product. This is what we got out of those 2 chuck rolls and the 30 pounds of ground beef, the 110 pounds of meat. We had very little waste because any of the trim we had, majority of that went into making ground chuck. So that's some of what's over here too. So
we did end up with just a little bit of like scrap pieces of, little bits that we cut off, and that ended up getting ground up and it got fed to the chickens.
So we had 0 waste on this. We're looking at this lasting us for hopefully for most of the year. And why that is that this last year we raised about 330 pounds of chicken meat, 50 pounds of turkey meat. We still have at least 25 pounds of venison, and hunting season isn't over.
Yep.
Pork, we still have the pig, and we're expecting about 80 to 100 pounds, so 90 pounds. So with this 110 pounds, that's over 600 pounds of protein. And that doesn't include the eggs that we get from the chickens or any of that for protein. So this should last us a good long time. And we got the variety. I've got stew meat, we've got steaks, we've got a lot of different types of roast. This is a Sierra roast.
A lot of Denver steaks.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of choice here. It's not just hamburger or roast. We got the stew meat and the steaks, and we have variety within it. So for us, we're feeling pretty good about this. And I know, if we had our choice, we would do local, we would do from the butcher. And as we said earlier in the video, we had an experience with a butcher. We did film it. We'll put it up right.
That'll be a separate video aside from this one.
Yeah. We were debating whether or not to show it. We don't want to be negative on the channel at all. But
things didn't go exactly how we had hoped. So
that's
where this comes in.
Yeah. So if you want meat on a budget, beef on a budget, this is a great option if you have the ability to process it yourselves. You don't have to be a butcher to do this. And so I think, do you have anything else you want to add into that, Kevin?
I think we're good.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video and it gives you some ideas. Sometimes thinking out of the box as a way to come up with things that fit into your personal budget. We get so used to we have to get our meat this way or we have to get our, this that way. Think a little outside of the box, and maybe this will give you some ideas on some ways that will help you with your meat budget.
And save a little money in the process.
Yep, and save a little money in budget. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate your support, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Well, it goes a lot better if you plug the thing in.